We will tell about our courtyard histories that we are collecting together with the students and many young residents of disadvantaged neighborhoods in downtown of Łódź. And just our perspectives on meanwhile uses is very much connected with the specific of our city. And just Lodz as a post-industrial city is very diversified in terms of social and economy and full of social inequalities, which are very easy to be seen in the way how our architecture, how the state of our buildings look like. And the poverty is very much concentrated in the city downtown. And this is why this part of the city is undergoing really massive urban regeneration, big projects externally funded and determined in timeline, sometimes defined by bodies who are maybe not so understandable to the specific of life of people of disadvantaged neighborhoods, the places in which we are working together with our students. When we think in terms of meanwhile uses as social pedagogues, we see, and in terms of urban regeneration, we see a lot of risks, and we would like to protect a bit residents of disadvantaged downtown neighborhoods from them. And just the first risk, all of them are generally connected with low participation in decision-making. And our observations as well as research prove that disadvantaged groups of people are generally excluded from decision-making processes because of the lack of expected communicative skills. Apart from that, research proved relationship in between territorial stigmatization and gentrification, where there are some regeneration processes undergoing in the cities, just simultaneously some discourses devaluating impoverished people are getting more and more popular, and this is how some regimes tries to find some justifications to put these people away, to redefine the land and to maybe get the form of gentrification. And according to Polish research, disadvantaged neighborhood residents are endangered with too late participation in co-production of their places. Generally, these time frameworks and pressure coming from external sources are not in line with the pace of life of people in disadvantaged neighborhoods, and generally it's very difficult to find solutions and to find spaces for just co-production of the city from the very beginning of urban regeneration. And our research, mine and Mariusz, proved that people from downtown are somehow, of course, those from disadvantaged neighborhoods are somehow reluctant to participate in any relationships with municipality or with representatives of other institutions, because they have generally quite often a negative history of cooperation, of relationship with them. And last but not least, especially for social pedagogues, children and youth are excluded from decisions on their courtyards in many, many ways. And that's why children are the actors of the processes we are trying to start off in disadvantaged neighborhoods. What does this lesson, what does this knowledge give us? What kind of lesson we got from this research and our observation? how do we, as social pedagogue, conceptualize meanwhile uses? In meanwhile uses, we see the processes that should lead to empowerment of disadvantaged people, perspective on the place, and empowerment of themselves as citizens of our city. And the history, the local history collecting serves to help us in that process. And how we do that? We work with the help of participatory action research, three-party, and we represent university together with the students, and we work with residents and representatives of local organizations or friendly to disadvantaged neighborhoods institutions. And we all together seek for the history of place, for the history of community, and try to co-produce it and to give it a form that would be possible to be disseminated in some spaces in which a kind of political action starts. And maybe you will tell some words about it.
Okay, I'm the politician, the politician in our team. Just a few words because I think it's a viewpoint of social pedagogy, not to work only with people at the grass level. Of course, we need to start at that level, but the results should be more political, to change also some systemic barriers that can block those people. And we did our best, and we are still doing our best to make the results of our cooperative participatory action more visible, more recognized, socially recognized, because we do believe that when the local histories will be more recognized, those communities, those people, neighborhoods will be recognized as well. So what we did, we organized some conferences. I mean, the meetings of different people at the university around that action that was constructed together by students and young people living in those neighborhoods. At the conferences made a possibility to show the results, the ideas, sometimes dreams of young people with other residents, local residents, but as well the representatives of some institutions, organizations, local authorities, to make that more visible. Another action that we took was organizing exhibitions, because the work done in neighborhoods was changed into posters. So we have some posters with stories that we exhibited in the museum of the factory, that its place is one of the biggest commercial center in Łódź. So many people are nearby or almost in that museum. And because our plan was to make that exhibition a bit more humanistic, let me call that. So we also asked young residents to stand next to posters and just tell the story or develop the story or answer some questions. Because behind all of those stories, there are people. Also, the very scientific way to make some knowledge public is publications. I mean, articles in journals, in journals, or chapters in book. or books itself. We still have not many achievements at that field, but we think it's very important also to give those people a kind of copyrights, the authorship, the possibility to express their knowledge, but with their names. We think the next book will be written probably together with some residents.
Yeah, and this is the way how we try to make their voice and their perspective louder, and to give it a strength of reasoning, and maybe being reflected in the future design of their places. We do believe that our project could be a kind of fuel for place branding or rebranding the place. And the histories we are reconstructing in the process of our research just are different. Only one of these types is based on objective history. I will tell a bit about the sorts of histories collected. First of all, in terms when we work with children, we always have the chance to collect some local myths or legends. When you live in an environment where buildings are in very poor condition, when you don't have the space to freely play, and there are a lot of bans from adults, what you have is your imagination, and generally it is fueled in the process of collective activities of space distribution. So children are inventing some heroes, some symbols, and here you've got one of the posters of our exhibition, and you can see the ghost as a kind of a leitmotif. And this ghost was actually a production of informal concierge of this neighborhood, of this courtyard. A woman who, according to children, hated children, and therefore she invented a ghost, and that was the way how she was controlling the space in a very intelligent way. There are the next generations of children, and they still do believe that there is one floor and one attic in which this ghost is living. And we see in this story a fantastic potential for a new brand of this disinvested place. Especially important is the fact that it would be children-driven history, meanwhile use, and maybe serious and a more stable urban regeneration effect. The second type of the history is the history of locally recognized heroes. And generally children don't know the locally recognized heroes. Some of them are not with them anymore. Some of them live only in the stories of their parents. And this is a very special opportunity in which generations are integrated, because children need the elderly to ask for the local heroes, for those who did something really good in the history of the neighborhood. And here you've got the extract from one of the narratives, the history of Mr. Bolek. Mr. Bolek was such a heart of the courtyard. When Mr. Bolek lived, this yard lived with him, and now it has died. And if Mr. Marian, the friend of Mr. Bolek, died, this yard would die for us. And the whole narrative was focused on unusual engagement of this guy to make his neighbors happy. And children didn't know the story before, but the communicate coming from the poster to the public was, we need people like Mr. Bolek, just in our place in which social life is not living anymore, we need Mr. Bolek again. The next type of history is the history, socially constructive history of the place. And this is the poster with the history of one of a courtyard. This is actually a sad history of a fall of a neighborhood, or actually of the courtyard. Just it starts from the description of the time of prosperity, which was very much connected with craftsmen sites in this neighborhood, and just craftsmen brought attention of citizens of the city, and they were a kind of dynamism of social life there. Now, as you can see, photos at the bottom of the poster, social life is non-existent anymore, and the story told us by the ex-concierge of this courtyard was very fruitful, especially for one guy in the group organizing this this history reconstruction, as it was 11 years old boy who has just moved into this neighborhood, and this process started actually his bonding with the place. And objective histories, just Marcin Nowicki told a lot about it, but thanks God we have Marcin Nowicki in Łódź and some historians, some very interesting teachers who are willing to help us to get the knowledge of local heroes, and this knowledge is the reason of pride for youngsters. And now just a kind of a know-how how we are doing this, how we are entering neighborhoods.
So let me tell it very, very briefly, because I know that time is running out so quickly. First, what we have learned, that definitely we need to start with the positive attitude towards those people. It's very often at the very beginning, you are not a friend. You will be not treated as a friend, rather as an enemy or somebody who is responsible to solve some local problem. But it's not a good starting point. So we just prepared ourselves to see those neighborhoods in a positive way. However, it is difficult for middle-class people, but it is possible. Second point. First, what we were looking for, there were local strengths, not social problems, but strengths, some positive abilities or potentials. And always we founded that quite easily. So it's enough just to look for places or things that local people are taking care about. And then you will see what is important for them. And it could be a starting point to discuss about that. To ask how they are doing, how they are taking care about that. Because most of people come to that neighborhoods to teach them. And we started with learning from them. It's not a good idea to mention about some formal institutions that we are representing, because very often after that presentation, they have some expectations that if we represent an organization, some work needs to be done to change, to improve the well-being them. Also, what we find that students can take a profit because of their status. particularly foreign students. Because, students, there are people who are doing their thesis, for example, other research, and almost all people want to help them, to support them in that. So it's very, very comfortable position to start the contact. Also, we have some experiences in indirect contact. But as far as we know, in Kaunas, another direct contact will be taken. So let me skip that as we are out of time.
Tools. And apart from that, we just mentioned the tools we are working with. Generally, they are go-along interviews, oral histories, analysis of documents done together with children and residents. We are mapping the space, and we are doing participant observation, and of course photos and films together with children. And children's drawings are what we really appreciate, and they are constructing that together with students. And all is incorporated into the participatory action research scheme, in which we are planning some aims and we are trying to reach them. So thank you very much, and sorry for taking too much time.